Welcome back to the Stick 'em Up podcast. Brundi, we are fully in off-season mode now. I think it's pretty safe to say we've gone multiple days without much, if any, really major news happening. We've had very little news going on in the NHL, so we got a bit of a different episode today.
Oh, that was it. I thought you had more there. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, sorry, I
we
stewarded you a
literally
little bit
have
there.
we literally have no information or like news that is in the league right now. It's
I've got a
that time of
single
year.
piece. I've got a single piece here.
Yeah, it's probably loser news. Let's hear it though.
A little bit. The Tampa Bay Lightning have signed
Loser news.
a contract
Loser news.
with JJ Moser, 2 years at a cap hit of $3.375 million.
That is actually a solid deal.
It's a good deal. He's an RFA at the end. It's good for him.
I think he'll outperform that contract. Actually, that's actually a nice deal for Tampa.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance. I think he plays on the third line, the third pairing, but they roll 3 lines with relatively equal ice time. I think they might go back to that since he's a left side guy. I think he also has played right in the past, but I think he's primarily a left side guy.
Yeah. All right. Well, if that's the only news we got, basically, again, aside from that one little tidbit there, we really do have nothing else that's really been going on in the league. So what we decided we're going to do today is we've each compiled a list together of whatever you want to call them, whether you want to call them hot takes or bold predictions for next season, the 2024-2025 season. We're just going to go through, list off some of the ones we've come up with, debate about them a bit, and then we'll kind of come back to them, when the beginning of next season is starting, and then we'll kind of be like, do we still believe in these? Or are we like, man, we are full of shit then? And then maybe we'll have some other ones, or maybe we'll keep the same ones. Maybe we stick true with what we believe. But Braden, do you want to hit us with your first one here?
Yeah, I can kick us off here. My first hot take for the I guess it would be it would be the 24-25 season. I have that over 13 players will have a 100-point season.
How many last season had 100?
Last season there was 9.
So 13. It's very possible.
I was gonna put originally 15, but I thought, injuries and stuff, that might be a bit much. But I think it could get to 15, but a little bit safer. I went 13. But I do think we see quite a few more guys hitting that plateau. Honestly, I'll change it. I'll change it to 15. Because you know what? 9 hit it. I got to imagine there's quite a few guys in that 95 plus range that didn't quite hit it. So, you know what? It's definitely still realistic that 15 could. So, scoring's been going up consistently since about 2015. And it only seems to be getting more and more. We saw multiple guys. I think we had 4 guys this year hit 120 points. Like that's absurd. So I think it's only going to keep
going up. Exactly. I like that. I think that's very, very possible to happen. So I'll go with this one first because it kind of piggybacks off yours a bit. One of the players that I have that is going to score 100 points next year. Now, this may seem like oh, it's not a super hot take, but he hasn't done it in the last couple of years, and he's only getting older. I have Sidney Crosby on a not very good Pittsburgh Penguins team. I have him hitting 100 points.
Ooh, I like that. I really like that.
He will be 37 years old for all of next season. He turns 37 in August here, so he will be 37 for the entire season. And yeah, I think he gets back up there, and I think he hits 100 there.
I'm just quickly Googling who the oldest player is to score 100 points in a season. Of course, it's Gordie Howe. Fair enough.
I was going to say probably Gordie Howe.
He did it at 40 years old and 364 days. The day before his 41st birthday.
Wow. And for the reasoning as well, Crosby last time he had 100 points wasn't it was back in 2019. So
It's been a
you know,
bit. The team's
he's gone 5 years since without hitting 100. He's been in the 90s the last couple of years. He's going to hit 600 goals next season. He just recently hit 1,000 assists. So I think Crosby drops 100 points. Do the Penguins make the playoffs? Probably not. But I mean, if Crosby's putting up 100, maybe they do. Maybe they do.
I really like that. I don't know if I agree that he'll do it, if only because he's doing a fantastic job of doing that Yzerman transition into a bit more of a two-way forward. As his career goes on, obviously he's still putting up great points.
He's
like
always
you said.
been that. He's always been a good two-way player.
Yeah, but he's like in the past, 7-8 years, he's like been just elevating it more and more. Like before, it was like, nobody would say stuff about him like, he doesn't care about his end. But nobody ever said he was great defensively. Now he's getting Selke votes. Like now he's like bona fide, like two-way forward kind of thing. So I don't know if it'll happen. I'd love to see it happen though. So I never have a problem cheering for Sid the Kid. I didn't have it on my list, but I was very close to putting Connor Bedard hits 100 points on mine. But I didn't think that would be a super hot take. I feel like
I think it would be.
A lot of people are.
Oh, I think it would be. Because he still doesn't have the greatest, players around him.
No,
like
he definitely does not.
Like we're in this is going to be year 2 of Bedard in Chicago. And within the last, 2 weeks, San Jose's already done a better job of putting better players around Celebrini than Chicago's done in the 2 years. So, I mean, obviously he's going to hit 100 points at some point. But
yeah,
again, it's just like I look at the players, I'm like, yeah, Bedard's going to do great regardless, probably be a point per game guy again still. But like to put up 100 when, again, he doesn't have the greatest team around him. So I think it's going to be tough for him to do. I could definitely see him doing it the following year once, a lot of their more kind of younger guys that are part of their core that they're building going forward, come in and start playing. But
yeah,
barring any crazy, move they make to bring in a great player to play Bedard, I think 100 points for him might be. Might not be the case just yet.
You know what? If you think it's a hot take, then I'm gonna stick with it. I'm just looking at his stats last year. I'm looking at Chicago's roster, and it's not great. But I think he could do it. He's a year older, and that means so much considering we're talking about a literal 18-year-old. He had 61 points in 68 games last season, so just under a point per game on an abysmal Blackhawks team. Just the fact that he's getting older and getting better, getting bigger, I think already in those 68 games, if he replayed them now, that 61 points would be like 80, 85. And I do think they've added some pieces that he does not have his line mates of the future yet. But I think
I
think a Tyler Bertuzzi up there. I think a Tyler Bertuzzi on his line could be really nice for him. A Teuvo Teravainen wouldn't be horrible.
Teravainen is a good ad, but Bertuzzi, he's not moving the fucking needle for Bedsy to move up to 100 points. Teravainen maybe, but again, I think it's a hot take still.
I think Tyler Bertuzzi only needs to help him put in 10 more points than last year, and another new line mate comes up and helps him put in a couple more. And I think just him aging and being, a little more seasoned. He's not in his rookie year. He's not thinking about the Calder or anything anymore. Like now I think he's going to finish in that like 95 to 105 points range. And I'm taking the over on 100.
Hey, I would love to see it again. That's why I'm saying I think it's a hot take. So I'm on the side of I don't think it's going to happen. So, and those are the perfect ones where you know, right now we've already got, one of us on each side of it. So I personally would love to see it, but again, I think it might be just a little bit too early. But when it comes to guys like Bedard, you never quite know.
Yeah, it's so hard to tell when the guy is so talented, but I mean the team around him, right?
Yeah, which is the biggest thing when kind of looking at it. It's like, if you had a couple better players easily, but it's just like looking, it's like could be
Do
tough.
you know
But
who was
again,
on his line
definitely
last year?
possible.
Who he
Oh
like
man,
played the
I
majority
think
with?
they just rotated a lot.
Yeah.
Every time I watched Chicago play, it seemed like it wasn't the same lines that I watched the last game. And they also did have a lot of injuries, and then moving guys out or players, getting a little too handsy and getting kicked off the team and all that. So I mean, it was just kind of a whirlwind there. So and maybe next year, maybe that'll help. Now that again, they're not bringing in these elite players or anything, but they're bringing serviceable guys and maybe guys that can actually solidify roles, and they can maybe get a little bit more consistency and maintaining a lineup that works for them on a nightly basis. So who knows? Who knows with Chicago?
Yeah.
Did you have anything else on that one, or?
Not really, except for I just wanted to Google just to make sure it hadn't already happened. But I do also think they'll probably name Connor Bedard the captain some point this offseason or at the start of next year. We all know he's going to be the captain at some point. Like it, I know a lot of people are like, we don't want to make him captain too early, but it does. We all know he's going to be captain. So does it matter?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly right.
I feel like the franchise is going to be like, might as well get the C on him now. We can sell new jerseys that have a C patch on them, and he can start working towards a franchise record for most years captained or stuff like that. Like,
I almost wouldn't be
we all know it's
surprised
going to
if
happen.
they. 100%, it's going to happen at some point, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they take the road of um, like Nick Foligno captain for a year or
Yeah.
something to just kind of be that little bit of a
Yeah.
bridge. And then next offseason, once Bedard, assuming, right away, as soon as it's July 1st, he's signing that big money 8-year deal. And then I think maybe that'll, be a part of it. It's like, hey, you signed the 8-year deal. Now you're here for at least 9 years. And now, we're gonna finally do it and be like, hey, you're the captain. Because I like Bedard's a total game changer. Like, you look at some of the other teams that are rebuilding, they get their, superstar, their first overall pick, but then they kind of got a couple years to get back up into the playoff hunt. As early as next year, Chicago could be, already going for a playoff spot again. So maybe that's the time where you lock up Bedard, you give him the C, and then you say, all right, let's make a charge to get back into the playoffs on a consistent basis now.
Yeah.
But I agree. It's going to happen at some point. It's just when.
There's some teams where it's like, when guys like Nico Hischier get taken first overall, people are kind of like, okay, so like he might be the captain going forward, but like he's probably going to be a star, but like, is he going to be that game breaker, that franchise piece? Like I very easily could have seen Jack Hughes getting it over Hischier, right? But
nah,
a guy,
man, the way
you draft a guy
like
like
Hischier.
You draft a guy like, just like going on like the skill level though. Like he's
that
that all-star guy, but not that generational talent that it's like, okay, this guy's getting it. Like as soon as Crosby got brought in, it's like, okay, well, Malkin looks incredible, but come on.
Yeah. So with all that, kind of keep it moving along. We'll move on to the next one.
Yeah.
I've got two that are really fun, so I'm going to kind of push those back a bit, just to keep everybody waiting, because one of them I actually put a lot of thought into it, and it's a team that we very rarely talk about. So I want to save that one a little bit to the end to keep people on their toes. This one, I don't know. You could maybe call it a bold prediction, just when you look at how stacked the East is, and especially the Atlantic. And despite how bad their offseason was, in my opinion, I have the Detroit Red Wings getting back into the playoffs finally.
Oh, okay.
The Red Wings are in, and I didn't do it at first because I was like, you could pick anyone. But then the more I thought about it, I'm like, you know what? To double down, I'll pick a team that is currently, that had just made the playoffs, that's going to miss. And obviously, I went with Washington because they're the easiest one to pick. I think
Fair.
you could either go between Washington or the Islanders, but again, I kind of like just the build of the Islanders a bit more, and they're a lot younger and better goaltending, even still better
Interesting.
defense. So yeah, that's mine. Detroit finally gets back in the playoffs, and the team that would come out, assuming, if every other 7 teams that were elsewhere in the playoffs all, make it again, I would have Washington be the one to miss. So
That's very interesting because I don't know if I agree. I like where the Red Wings have been going, but I don't love their some of the stuff in the offseason. Some of it I really like.
I don't either. Like, I don't like the, I don't think losing Gostisbehere breaks the team entirely, but I think when you look at
But it
it,
hurts.
you lose. It definitely hurts, but it's not like you're, when you lose a, no offense, like I don't want to, keep picking at the wound, but
no,
but
you could
Sergachev
see it coming.
leaving, it's
I
like
didn't even think you were going for that one.
you lose Sergachev, that could potentially cost you.
Yeah.
Assume like, bringing in Moser helps, but like losing Sergachev probably costs Tampa Bay maybe 6 to 7 games potentially, just on how good Sergachev is. Gostisbehere really maybe 2, but it's the fact of like you lose Gostisbehere and Wallman. Is tough for them, but again, you bring in Tarasenko, who
paid to get rid of
I think
Wallman too.
has found his game a little bit again, just won a cup. And the biggest thing is Detroit has Patty Kane for a full year. You saw what he did last year, but remember, he didn't come in until around December, I think it was.
It might have been
Mid-December,
January.
late December. I was thinking it could be January, but I said December just to be safe. But like, you've got Patty Kane for a whole year now. If they Patty Kane all of last season from start to finish, they're in the playoffs. It's not coming down to game 82 and, you're tying it up with, what was it, 2 seconds left or something, to give yourself a chance. So that's the biggest one for me, is having a full healthy Patty Kane, hopefully for the entire season. And I just want to see Detroit back in.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
I like that pick. I agree. I think they could definitely be taking the Capitals or the Islanders out. The Capitals, I want to say that I'm like very confident they'll miss the playoffs, but they did make some nice moves in the offseason.
They did. I don't know. But again, it's just a very aging core. And as much as I'll sit here and, suck him off every episode, how he's the greatest thing ever. Charlie Lindgren, I don't know if he can be a full starter that can play, 60, 65 games and help carry a team, like carry this Capitals team into the playoffs. I like a lot of the moves they made, but again, goaltending is, we don't know. I'm not going to say it's good or bad. We don't know.
You need several years of performances like that for people to feel confident in it. Like, we've seen goalies all the time. They put up insane years, and then they just go back to being a 1B option afterwards. Like all the time. I mean, what was
Ryan Elliott almost?
Steve, well, who was it? Steve Mason, when he won the Calder, he had like 8 shutouts in a year.
We ain't taking any Steve Mason slander. He did that on the Blue Jackets of all teams.
That's what I'm saying. That year was incredible, but what happened afterwards? Like, goalies,
he got sent to Philly.
Like, goalies can be insane for it's not even short amount of time, like 82 games. Obviously they're not playing all 82, but that's over an entire season. To be as good as Lindgren was stellar. But
bro, he had 10 shutouts.
To do it year in, year out is crazy.
Dude, he had 10 shutouts. Yeah, when he won the Calder. Holy fuck.
That's how you win the Calder, man.
Jeez. I didn't know he had 10, though. Good gravy. All right. Cool.
But that kind of walks your one about the Red Wings kind of walks into my next one. And my next prediction is that I have the Toronto Maple Leafs missing the playoffs this year.
No way. You have Toronto missing.
Holy
fuck, dude.
They didn't they didn't make it by a ton, and their core is only getting more expensive. Like people
but
keep
all
saying,
they did was get better this
people
offseason,
keep
I feel like.
saying all you can do is like, how are you supposed to win a cup with that much? They've been finishing lower and lower and lower in the standings for the past like 5 years in a row. At a certain point, it's going to be, how do you make the playoffs with a core built that way? Like,
Man, but like you got to look at what they did. Like, I don't get me wrong, I fucking love
I
this.
thought they had a bad
I
offseason.
love this. I love this hot take. But it's like, I think their goaltending upgraded. I think having Joseph Woll, again, it's kind of the Charlie Lindgren thing. We don't know, so I'm not going to say it's good or bad. But I kind of like the decision of just, you saw what you got from him in the playoffs, and you were like, you know what? Let's try and ride it out with him. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Could go good, could be horrible. I love the addition of Chris Tanev and OEL on the back, on the blue line to kind of bolster things. And then I'll take Craig Berube 100 times out of 100 over a Sheldon Keefe. And I think Craig Berube can.
That's true. They did
bring the most
change out
out
their
of
coaching staff.
Out of their guys. Don't get me wrong. I fucking love this. I love this from you. Like I dig it. And I know Toronto fans are probably fuming right now, and it's incredible.
Hey man, every time I say Boston's not going to make it this year, they go out and they drop 65 wins in a season. So you know what? Maybe I'm doing you a favor here.
I dig that though.
I just brought up Toronto's Puckpedia page. Rip
not
cap friendly.
Yeah.
And it shows that their forward core is taking up 67% of the cap.
Yeah, it's yeah.
Oh, the 1967 meme is you need a cup to get rid of it at this point.
Yeah, I dig that pick though.
Yeah,
I really do. I really do.
I think some people are underrating how much Tyler Bertuzzi helped that team. They did bring Domi back, which I really like for them.
I'm so happy Domi found a home finally. I got sad last year when Dallas let him go because I was like, man, he fit in so well, and I'm so glad to see him. Duclair, like those were the two guys that like I was like, man, from watching them on that Canadian World Juniors team, they're just bouncing around. I'm like, how is this possible? Now they both seem to have found a home finally. So awesome there.
Yeah, I love what they did net. I absolutely love it. Like, locking up Joseph Woll, I think he's going to be great for them. Stolarz was a phenomenal backup last year, like one of the best backups in the league. He could definitely run a tandem there. And then they got Martin Jones just in case. Like, I don't mind any of that. I think their forward core, I want to say it got a little bit worse, but at the same time, some of the young guys, a Matthew Nyes, a Nick Robertson, they might break into the lineup a bit more.
I think it sounds like Nick Robertson for sure. It sounds like he kind of wants out. Like he's like, you know what? We've been trying this; it's not working. So I don't think it's official, but it's kind of sounding like he's
going to Pittsburgh.
He wants out. Most likely. The one thing I will say, because I see Toronto fans already pumping it up and being like, "This is happening." They think Easton Cowan is going to be full time with the Leafs next year and be, this stud. The same way they said Matthew Knives had a very good chance of winning the Calder last year. I mean, and then I don't even think he got any votes. So
I don't think
when you talk about Toronto, it's like you got to look at the player, the established players they have now, because the media will try and gaslight you into being like, oh, these young guys are going to step in and be just as good and be, immediate 50-point guys. And it's like, no, they're regular prospects. They're just like every other team. Just because they're Toronto prospects doesn't immediately mean, oh, they're like the best of the best prospects out there when they're second round picks or late first round picks. Like, you got to look at what they have now. And I do agree. I think that their forwards got a little bit worse. Yeah, they did get worse.
And I definitely see an argument for their blue line getting better.
I believe it did. I will stand by that one.
If it did, it got better a little bit.
What do you mean a little bit?
I
mean a little bit. They brought in Chris Tanev and OEL and the combined but the two of them like under $8 million.
I would not
That's
pay 8
better
mil
than
for
a
both. I would not pay 8 mil for both of them.
That's better
I
than a TJ Brody and a Mark Giordano, or a TJ Brody and a Ilya Labushkin.
I think Labush. Hmm, I don't know
No,
if that. I don't know if we're doing a hot take here. I was gonna
don't
say
know.
Labushkin might be the best of those guys you named.
Oh no,
I'm not.
no.
OEL's got some things to prove to me. I feel like the only times I've noticed him are just absolute train wrecks. Maybe there's some
He's an
intangibles he's
offensive
not been
defenseman.
doing.
He's an offensive defenseman, but we can't be sitting there and being like,
You got to put up some
Ilya.
nice point totals then, because
Well, I mean,
how often does Toronto have that guy? Morgan Riley. He's pretty good offensively and defensively. He's not horrendous, but
OEL put up
there's
32
there's
points
stuff
on
to be
Florida's
desired.
bottom pair in last regular season.
But he was also on their top power play, wasn't he?
For a little bit. He was kind of at the start of the season until Montour came back. Then OEL got bumped down
Really,
to
and
the
then
second
Montour
one.
takes it, not Ekblad at all. Interesting.
No, dude, Montour was he was so, like, he was good on the power play, and he had a bit of a down year last year, but like the year before he dropped like 60 points. He was a beast, but I will not even entertain the idea that Labushkin is the best out of I could maybe say maybe in the range of like OEL, but Chris Tanev fucking clears him by so much.
It's so funny. In my brain, I just can't picture what a top 20 defenseman in the league wearing a Leafs jersey looks like. Like,
yeah, no.
maybe top 20 is a bit much. I think Morgan Riley could probably fit into that category, but
no. When you look at the breakdown of the top
I feel like Chris
defensemen,
Tanev is going to regress pretty good this year. He's 34. He plays a hard game, and
but it's what we said with defensemen. Their
something
lifespan's longer.
Something about him going to the Leafs, it smells fishy to me, and I see a bit of the same for OEL. But I mean, hey, you know what? I don't dislike the Leafs. Like, if they want to prove me wrong, that's fine. I want to say there's room for everyone in the playoffs, but especially in the East, that is very not true.
OEL, maybe. You could see a bit of a drop off because he got bought out. He took like league min with Florida. He finally got paid again now, and he's got a cup. Chris Tanev doesn't have a cup yet, and he's from Toronto, so he's going back home to Toronto without a cup. So he and Chris Tanev's not a guy to go out there and just
no. I'm not saying he's gonna go. He's not gonna go out there and dog it, but he's
even if Chris Tanev regresses a bit, when you get a guy like him that you're getting, I don't know what's reasonable, from 20 to 22 minutes a night, maybe could be 22 to 24, but you're getting 100% out of a guy like that.
Yeah, his effort is not at all. His effort will never be in question to me. That dude gives it all. I mean, the Flames were well out of a playoff spot at the one point, and he was like diving in head first in front of pucks to block them. And
that was
like in the regular season. Like, the dude's a madman, but he's getting older. He just had a leg injury. Like,
I mean, yeah,
we'll see.
I do get what you're saying.
I hope he does great there.
Yeah,
but
so kind of moving on to my next one now.
Just one last thing. This is on the assumption that I think they're going to bring Mitch Marner back. They're going to try and run it back one last time. Yeah, I don't have much to dissect about that, but just saying that for my prediction for that, I don't predict they're going to move him and then miss the playoffs. I predict that they're going to keep him around.
There. Yeah, and I agree. I think if Marner was going to get moved, it would have already been done. So now hopping over to the West, I had my kind of one for my teams in the East there. Moving over to the West, I have the Minnesota Wild back in the playoffs. They've kind of been that. They've kind of been a tweener team. They were a team that, have bought big at times and it didn't work out, kind of blew up in their face. But I have them, just when I look at the makeup of their team, some of the young guys coming up that I think, again, I'm not saying they're going to be huge, impact guys, but I think based on, from what we've seen from some of our World Juniors and then some playing overseas, I think can be really beneficial. They've got 3 good goalies. You've got Gustafsson, Fleury, and then Wallstead still, knocking on the door there. And then their defense, I think, is nice and solid. So I think it's going to be a wild card spot. Don't get me wrong, but I think it was between Minnesota and Seattle. But I went with Minnesota because I want to see them back in the playoffs because I love the Minnesota playoff atmosphere.
Interesting. Okay. So one of my predictions was going to be that Utah makes the playoffs. And before we started recording, I changed it to the Minnesota Wild making the playoffs. I completely agree.
What team do you have missing then?
I mean, the Preds are right there, but after the moves they made, you can't.
That's why we're going Vegas. That's why we're picking Vegas to miss, because that's what it came down to.
I'll be happy if it happens.
I looked at the wildcard teams, and Nashville made moves to go up, like they're in win now mode, and it's like Vegas lost so many guys. And when you're also looking at Vegas now, it's, they're kind of up against the cap as well. But now it's like when you get to, trade deadline time, you can't really afford to have guys go off to LTIR, whether they're legitimately hurt or not. Totally different discussion. But it's like, because you don't have like the March or so to kind of carry the workload, and and they don't really have any assets to move out anymore. Like, you don't have your next 2 first-round picks. You don't really have many prospects. Like,
does this have to do with
take what they have? And
does this have anything to do with San Jose owning their next first-round pick?
No, it's literally on the fact I don't like Vegas, and I had to pick a team to miss, and I'm like, it's not like Minnesota can jump into the Pacific there and take it away from LA. So I'm like, they're probably going to have to be a wild card team, and I don't see Nashville missing. So I just picked Vegas.
I think the Golden Knights are the 3rd team to get kicked out of the playoffs out of the ones that made it last year for me.
Who do you have above them? I'm assuming LA, which
LA is the most likely for me, for sure. That's a very solid. And oh my God, am I stupid, dude?
I think LA misses too, but
I would say this team's tied with Vegas, actually, in how likely it is to happen. How likely that is, probably not. But the Colorado Avalanche.
I don't know.
They've lost a lot of core pieces. It's such a stupid prediction. They have so many game breakers, dude.
Yeah, which is basically it. Like,
they just feel like a team that I'm not going to see miss the playoffs for like 8 years, even if they have a bad, like blatantly bad team. I just feel like they're just going to be in the playoffs for the next decade.
Yeah. Do they win another cup? Probably not, because I don't think they're ever going to be able to build up that depth that they had when they won.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I had Minnesota just making
superstars that I think if they have a key injury, a Rantanen, a McKinnon, or a Makar go down for an extended period, that puts them in real big jeopardy. And that could be said about the majority of the teams in the league, but some of them have a bit more like higher end depth. Like, if any one of the best 5 players on the Canucks, maybe barring Quinn Hughes, go out for 40, 50 games, I think the Canucks probably still make the playoffs fairly comfortably.
The thing with Colorado, though, is so the first thing, before Colorado, so Minnesota probably gets in a wild card, which I think knocks Vegas out. LA probably does miss the playoffs too, but I think there's a better likelihood that either Seattle or Anaheim finally is on the rise again and potentially moves up to that
I almost
specific spot.
I almost had one of my predictions as Anaheim makes the playoffs. They have so many good young guys, but I think they're going to improve, but it's too
Anaheim
much of a hill to climb yet.
The most interesting team, because they've been building this team up so good, but they still fucking suck every year. And so it's like, is this finally going to be the year that they, everything connects and they make the playoffs? Or are they just going to miss? Or are they going to suck next year? With Colorado, the biggest thing is does Landeskog play? We don't know yet. If they have Landy, that drastically improves their team right there. And it also
On
depends
vibes
on
alone as well.
Yeah.
That'd be huge.
And then also come December, what happens with Nichushkin? Does he, come back and he's a full timer and still lighten it up, or does more shit go down and maybe he doesn't even play at all next year, or maybe he comes back and it's just nothing is going right, and then so there's some question marks with Colorado, but I think Colorado's still very safely a playoff team.
Yeah, I think that would be pretty tough, but luckily that wasn't my prediction. My prediction was the same as yours, that through hook or crook, the Minnesota Wild make it back into the playoffs. It's not part of the prediction, but I do have Kirill Kaprizov being one of those 15 players to hit 100 points this year. I think he's going to put up at least 100. I think he was put up like 95 last year in 68 games or something. Like, he didn't play all the games.
Man, he's good. Like, they're going to need him to be balling out if they want to make the playoffs. But I think also now having a full year in development of Brock Faber, who, people can say it's crazy, but people are saying Evan Bouchard's already a top 10 defenseman in the league. By this time next year, we could be sitting here like, fuck, is Brock Faber starting to get up into that, top 15, maybe top 10? Like, he's a good player, and I'm expecting him to also have a very good year for Minnesota to contribute to them getting into the playoffs.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm looking at this Anaheim Ducks team here, and it's kind of crazy, but it could happen. Like, Leo Carlsson put up 29 points, just shy of 30 last year, but he only played 55 games. Zegras put up 15 points. It was a down year for him, but I mean, in 31 games, so it was half a point per game. Like, all their guys are putting up like decent-ish numbers, and then I'm looking at their age on top of that, and it's 20 years old, 19 years old, 21 years old, 23 years old, like 22. They are such a young team, and obviously it's scary when Radko Gudas is your 12th highest scorer on the season, but
yeah,
there's not a lot for them to do but go up.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I think they probably won't make it this year. If for nothing else, I think Frank Vatrano probably does still get moved to somewhere. I think he's got too much value right now for them to not jump on that. I don't think you're getting 37 goals, 60 points out of Vatrano 2 years in a row. And even if you do and miss the playoffs, what did it really do? I guess if it, helps guys develop on the power play, but I think they can get something nice for him.
Yeah, 100% there.
So what was that last one? You did, I guess we both kind of did the Minnesota Wild prediction. How many do you have left?
How many?
3?
Yeah, I have 3 left. One of them I kind of took out because it's not NHL related, but I'll quickly just say it.
Sure.
Just because it's during the season, but I'm not even biased as a Canadian, not even biased, but I predict Canada to win the Frozen Four, whatever that tournament's called. I have Canada winning that one.
I should have put my hot take as Stuart Skinner as the starter
for that team. The starter, man, he's not the starter.
I can add another one. It doesn't have to be on the list. Stuart Skinner is the starter. That would be the
scorching hottest take of all time, because then I would be like, Canada ain't fucking winning.
I'm putting
actually,
it in.
No, Canada might not win either way, depending on their goaltending. That actually might just cost them the whole thing.
What is it? The Four Nations face-off?
Yeah.
He was just, the higher ups were glazing themselves over that name. They thought it was so cool.
Yeah, they really did. Now that I'm actually thinking about it, Canada might actually be fucked in this tournament solely alone based on goaltending.
Yeah.
Because Aiden Hill's good, Skinner's good, Binnington, but
they don't have a guy who's better than good.
But
as
then
far as a country,
and that's the thing, right? Is it's they're good in the NHL, where you're, some nights you're getting Cal Clutterbuck and Matt Martin
Yeah,
as a
there's no
fourth liner
salary
on you.
cap in
Like,
this.
yeah, you're facing like the best of the best from every country. And then you look at, the Americans, Hellebuck, Swayman, Demko, Ottinger, who's probably not going to be on the team. You've got guys like Linus Allmark.
Yeah, the fifth best defenseman
and
for
then like
Team
UC
USA would
Saros,
be
like,
our starter, easy, like handily.
yeah. I know. I'm still going. I'll throw it in there. Canada is winning, but now that I think about it more, even though I'm being biased, I'm not 100% confident, but we'll see.
Skinner's gonna shut
We'll
out both Kachuk brothers in the finals against the US.
Both Hughes brothers as well.
Oh,
Only
damn.
2 though. There's not going to be 3 Hughes on that team.
So yeah,
But I have 3 left.
Yeah. Okay, and I've got 2 left. So if you want to do your next one, then
yeah,
we can go back and forth.
This one's not like an insanely hot take, but it's kind of a bold prediction because there's lots of rumors swirling about will he resign? He's going to take a big discount? But as of the moment, when he signs it, assuming nothing else major happens, I have Leon Draisaitl signing an 8-year extension, and it will be north of 13 mil. Probably, I would say maybe 13.3, 13.5 to make him the highest paid player in the league.
I completely
think he sticks
agree.
with Edmonton, but I don't think
exactly
he sits there and says, like I see a lot of Edmonton reporters and media being like, oh, he'll take a,
what about
an 8-year deal at 11 or 11.5. It's like, no,
why?
He's going to cash in because he can, and he's totally entitled to with the cap going up and everything. Like, it's going to, because again, I think that's just the way it goes. It's not very often. Like, Nathan McKinnon didn't, Austin Matthews didn't, Connor Bedard's not gonna, like,
what
even McDavid when he signed his, he didn't. Like, it's Bedard's is tough because with these younger guys, like, it's so tough to tell, like, are they going to just sign that right when they can? Are they going to sign that 8-year deal and,
but they,
tie
they
themselves
want
up? Are they going to take that? Yeah, but are they going to be like, hey, I would just want to do that 3-year bridge deal at 8.5, and then when I can sign my big 8-year deal, the cap's going to be up, and I can. Well, what if Bedard says I'm not signing an 8-year deal? What's Chicago going to say?
We're going to trade you if you don't like.
Well, I mean, yeah, but
I think they just keep increasing the money until him and his agent go, fine, we'll do 8.
I'm not saying like Bedard's not going to sign a year. I think he probably does, just because it's like, yeah, like with those kind of generational guys, like they're the type of guys that just, like, Crosby did it even longer. Ovi, and then even McDavid, like they locked themselves up when they could.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going with. I'm going Draisaitl, 8-year extension. North of 13, I'm going to say it's probably just going to be one of those things where it's like 13.3, 13 and a half or something.
I
just
can
to be a little bit over
a 13.25 or something for sure.
Yeah.
I think that's honestly the most likely outcome to me. I have no idea if other people think it's a hot take or not, but I think that's the most likely scenario right now.
Yeah, I guess that's
even
the hot
with
take
the numbers.
Of it. Not Draisaitl really extending, but the fact that it's gonna be a lot of money.
Yeah,
and
I have no idea what's a hot take for this situation. So
yeah,
it might.
No, it's basically going off how much he's gonna make and the fact that, like, it's probably gonna be where for at least one point in time he will be the highest paid player in the league, and then obviously the next year, McDavid's gonna sign his deal, and then McDavid's gonna be the highest paid guy, and then Edmonton's gonna have 1 and 2 on their books. But
could you imagine if Draisaitl extended 8 years for like 13.5, and then McDavid extended for 8 years at like 9 mil, and he just takes the team discount when Draisaitl didn't? You know how much shit Draisaitl would get, like, retroactively for that contract?
And I think fans would turn on him maybe then.
Yeah, even though it's like, how would he know that everyone else all of a sudden going to take a discount because like they didn't before?
Yeah, exactly,
but
right.
That would be a wild situation. I have 2 more here. Let's do this one. We actually talked about this relatively recently. I want to say it was on the podcast, but it might have been after one of our recordings. I think at least 2 players this upcoming season will hit the 60 goal mark.
Oh, because this goes into my next one. Nice. I love it. Do you have 2 players already, or are you just saying like 2 players at least?
I'm just going. I think it's bold enough just saying I think 2 guys are gonna do it. But like Austin Matthews is a free space. He's done it twice now, and like dude's a goal scoring machine. He could easily do it as long as he's healthy. The other guy, if they could find the right line mates for Pasternak, maybe McDavid if he just feels like scoring more goals this year. Draisaitl if he goes back to regular season form. There's quite a few guys that could.
I can see it because this goes into my next one. Because I have one player specifically, who's gonna hit the 60 goal mark.
I thought you were gonna say 70. I thought you were like one guy is gonna crush it.
70 would be outrageous for this guy, but
Frank
I can definitely see him. I can see him tucking 60. And then there's none other than Moose Mikko Rantanen hitting 60, tucking 60 goals.
Okay.
Avs. Now,
the top line there's gonna have to carry it. Yeah.
And when you think about it, all right, who are always the guys that just have enormous years out of nowhere? William Nylander this year, Sam Reinhart, contract years. Mikko Rantanen's in the last year of his deal.
Oh,
it doesn't sound like there's any even contract talks going on right now. It sounds like he's planning on going into next season, and we'll worry about it afterwards. And when he's the top
he
end
could
talent,
be extended now.
Yeah, he's eligible for an extension right now.
Oh, I thought it was next year he'd be eligible. Oh, wow. Okay.
And so when I look at it, I'm like, I don't know. When you see those guys that are on contract years, as good as he is, I think
contract year is massive. A lot of people seem to think that, I don't know, does that matter? It does. You can see it in a way a guy plays, in the numbers. Guys go nuts on their contract year.
And then when you look at again, we don't know with Colorado, if Landy's coming back and going to be healthy, when Nichushkin comes back, but he's going to be playing with McKinnon still. Yeah, he's still Makar's still going to be back there. Devon Taves, he's still got that top end talent. When you're talking about McKinnon, Makar, elite talent, franchise talent.
Yeah,
I think Rantanen is going into next season because he's like, I'm going to go out there and fucking tuck 60 goals, 110, 115 points, and get paid.
Where do you think he gets paid?
I think Colorado.
Do you think the Avs can't afford to lose him?
I think they find a way to keep him because, again, you're Colorado, you're in win now mode, and if you're at the trade deadline and you even think there's the slightest chance that Rantanen is going to walk, I think you have to put him out there and be like, hey, who's going to give us a fucking boatload of assets and picks, prospects, players, whatever for him, because you can't risk losing him.
Yeah.
But I think he's going into next season
Is McKinnon making 12.6?
12.6.
What do you think Rantanen asks for? 8 years?
I think 12 and a half.
12? I was going to say, is it crazy to say
8 by 12
12 and a half?
I think that's probably where,
Goes for McDavid's old contract, goes for 1.1 mil less than McKinnon.
And that's the thing. I think
obviously he's not at McDavid's level, but the cap goes up, the money goes up.
And I think if he tucks, because he put up
really good numbers.
Not this last year, but the year before, he put up 55 goals, 105 points. Last year, 42 goals, but 104 points. He's got 617 points in 570 games. So I think if you're Colorado looking at it, you're kind of saving grace is the fact that you're paying McKinnon 12.6. Because then at least you can be like, all right, you're not getting more than that. If Rantanen tucks 60 goals, 150 points, you can be like, hey, but we can't pay you more than McKinnon because McKinnon's the guy. He's won the awards. He's, so, but yeah, I think 12 and a half, I think is probably fair for Rantanen, honestly.
Yeah, especially if the cap keeps going up. People think it's going to go up 3, 4, 5 mil, per season, maybe even over the next little bit. Like it's
When the
it's
Four
so hard to
Nations
predict.
face-off
But
is run, I'm pretty sure kind of through the NHL. So they're
yeah,
making bank off that as well. They're still keeping the All-Star game.
they don't
Like
have to
they're
pay. They don't all have to pay to keep the Coyotes afloat. All the owners
Yeah.
were paying a couple $100,000 every season. I'm pretty sure in just like poverty tax, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I could see it. I really like that one actually. You got me gassed up on him, dude. I'm not going to change it. I've changed a
It's the
couple of
fact that
mine
it's
to
a
be higher.
contract year for Rantanen. Like
Yeah.
that's the thing. It's a contract year. Like that's huge.
I've already changed a couple of mine to be higher numbers than what they were originally. So I'm not going to change this one, but like I'm tempted to put 3 players will hit 60. Like scoring's going up, stuff like that. Like there's a lot going on. It's a lot more possible than it was a couple years ago. What do you got for your next one?
Oh, how many do you have left? You just have
one more.
Okay. This is my last one. This was my really fun one. I put a lot of thought into this one. We are going to Columbus. The Columbus Blue Jackets.
I almost did something for Columbus, and I decided against it.
I don't know if this is going to happen, but I'm hoping that we see the reunion and they try and spark something for Gaudreau, and they put Sean Monahan and Johnny Gaudreau back on a line together. Gaudreau, famous for, as Braden has said numerous times, he likes to just pick his ass, and
numerous times is a stretch.
That's kind of what he's known for in Columbus right now. So I'm assuming that just this is what my prediction is based off of. Assuming that they put them on a line together to try and reignite the old chemistry from Calgary, I think Sean Monahan and Johnny Gaudreau combined for 55 goals and 130 points in Columbus.
Wow. Okay.
That's what I'm going with. That's so if you
weren't wrong that's a fun one. Like that'd be neat to see. I personally do not see it in the slightest happening, but I mean that's why they're called hot takes.
Yeah. So like if you're not a math whiz, they'd each have to average, about 28 goals each, assuming just dead even. One's like Gaudreau can maybe pot 35 and Monahan 20 or something. And then for the 130 points, averaging about 65 each. So maybe that's, 70 for Gaudreau, 60 for Monahan or whatever. But if they put them together, that's what I'm going with for those two.
Yeah, I really like that one. And that would be very fun to see if that happened.
It'd be so fun. It'd be so good for Columbus too, man. Especially knowing that you're probably losing Laine. Like, if you can have the Monty and Johnny connection, spark some shit up and be a dynamic duo for you with all your young guys still coming up. Because you got to find something to work. Like, I think that's why they brought in Monahan specifically, is because you lock Gaudreau into this massive deal, and it's kind of the same as Huberdeau and Calgary. It's just underperformed. You see those little signs, and you see those glimpses of moments where it's like, I see the elite Johnny Gaudreau that we were supposed to be getting, but you don't see it at all in a consistent basis. And so I think that's why they brought in Monahan to try and, because like they were boys in Calgary, like they were supposed to be the future of that team. They were boys. They've done some stuff out together and whatnot. So I think that's why they brought him in to try and reignite that fire in Gaudreau and Monahan. As when healthy, we've seen him, show that he can still be a force in this league and be a great player. So, I'm excited, and I really, really hope that they play together. I think you have to.
That's the whole point of bringing him in, isn't it? Like
that's what I'm thinking.
There's nothing about his position, his age, or his contract that makes sense outside of play with Gaudreau and bring up the vibes. His contract expires the same year as Gaudreau's now. Like that is 100% why they brought him in. They've got the cap space right now before they have to sign their young guys. That is completely the reason. And that one will be really interesting. I don't see it happening. Like,
Dude, they can
Johnny.
teach the young guys to party there too. They know how to party, those two.
Oh,
They know how to party.
But like Johnny, like that's what did you say? 55 goals, 130 points.
Yeah. I had
Like,
50 goals originally, but I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna gas these boys up. So I went up to 50.
I think I think the points is pretty tough. I think the goals might almost be harder. Johnny Gaudreau had the same exact goals per game last year as Zach Werenski did.
Yeah, but Zach Werenski's sick.
Oh, for a defenseman,
he's sick. I mean,
oh yeah, I love Zach Werenski, but
I'm more expecting Monahan to be the guy
for Gaudreau and
goals.
12
That's
goals,
what I'm
60 points. You know,
I'm more expecting Monahan though to tuck the goals.
But what do you think he's going to put? You think he's going to put 40 goals?
No, but I think the two of them together. I think Monahan can probably be. I think Monahan could easily tuck
35,
30, maybe. What did he put up last year in total? Between Montreal, 26 between Montreal and Winnipeg. And
how many games did he play there? Is that?
I think he played almost like the whole season, actually, if I'm not mistaken.
I think he might have played more.
Oh, no, he definitely didn't. 49, 34. He did actually.
Yeah, that's 83 games. Yeah, I was gonna say I think he played more than 82.
Hey, but this is the thing. This is why these are hot takes, bold predictions that we're
also
doing.
I love this looking at the stat line. He had the exact same points per game in Winnipeg and in Montreal. So you can be fairly certain that you're going to get around that, hopefully, in Columbus. Like, not between those two teams, they have insanely different team makeups at this time. So for him to be at 0.71 points per game on both of them through 49 and through 34 games is pretty nice.
And again,
I don't see it happening.
The chemistry
but like,
we've seen from
I'd love for it to happen.
I think
I'd love a win for them.
Yeah, exactly right.
Like, their fan base deserves it, man. So I see some of these fan bases where it keeps sucking, and I'm like, I just like want to win for these guys. Like Coyotes fans, I was looking at them like, fuck, man, can they have something? They keep not making the playoffs. Their owner's doing stupid shit. Like, oh my god, like let them have something, man.
Well, exactly. So that's kind of why I went with the Columbus, because I was like, you know what?
I like that prediction.
I want to see something.
I don't think it'll happen, but I love that prediction.
And I love seeing teammates like that, especially guys that were like, best buddies and whatnot. Now all of a sudden be reunited. I think we could see something special there with them.
Yeah, and
it's honestly, always up there. Who do you put with them? There's lots of guys that they can slot in there with them. Like you could.
I was just about to say that
Kent Johnson. Maybe
Kent
Johnson.
You're reading my mind in real time. I was about to say I might agree with you if Kent Johnson played with them, but
I think he makes the most sense.
Monahan's a center, Gaudreau's a left winger, and Kent Johnson is also a left winger. So if he can learn to play right wing, then I really like that top line. But if if he's the second left wing, I think Kent Johnson would be their best chance at putting up great numbers there. And also maybe just developing Kent Johnson, because I think he's going to be a stud in 3-4 years.
Yeah. My thoughts was you either go with player. I thought Kent Johnson, if you can make it work with him on the right wing, or maybe you just say fuck it and just put a pure shooter, just a goal scorer, and you go with something like a Kirill Marchenko. And you he tucked 23 last year. I mean, it'd be so cool if Patrick Laine was still there, and you put Laine with those two. But again, this is all on the assumption that Laine is not going to be with Columbus. So,
did he ask for a trade?
Yeah, it sounds like
right? But I guess that's something we got. He still has a contract, right? 2 more seasons.
Yeah, is when does the Laine trade happen, and where does he go?
Why do I feel like we will not escape this Laine 1-for-1 situation? I feel like he's going to get traded straight up for one other guy that does something similar. 2 guys who need a fresh start somewhere, and we're going to see one or both of them not turn it around.
Okay, so I don't want to
Some
dive down this rabbit hole super hard because we still have your last one to do.
Yeah.
I think the best fit for Patrick Laine, the team that I think he would excel the most in, is Calgary. I think I think if he goes to Calgary they need a goal scorer. They need a guy that can tuck 40 a year easily without even trying. And again, like Gaudreau with Calgary, you've got Huberdeau who has been struggling ever since he's been there because he's a passer. He's not going out there to put up 20 goals every year. He's going out there to, 15 goals, but 90 assists or something, whatever you want to call it, 80 to 90 or something. I think if you put Laine out there with Huberdeau on the first line on the power play, like Huberdeau will just dish him the puck all night long and Laine will just rip him. But again, the thing is like, you got to figure out with Calgary's position, what do you give up? What's a realistic package you could
and
do?
I just don't think there's nothing they'd want to give up that would be worth it for
if you do a 1-for-1
Columbus.
If you do a 1-for-1, if he's willing to go to Columbus, if you're Calgary, would you trade Blake Coleman straight up 1-for-1 for Laine?
Ooh.
And here's the thing, Laine's ceiling is higher, but Laine's value is the lowest it's ever been.
Yeah.
His value is an all-time low because not only the whole situation of, him being gone last season and going through his thing, but also he hasn't been performing to what he was with Winnipeg. Like we're talking about Columbus, Patrick Laine. So if you're Calgary, do you be like, hey, you know what?
I don't think so. I don't think
we've kind of got other guys
Calgary wants him.
Be like a Blake Coleman, like no, I'm not saying maybe Calgary wants him. But I'm saying if you're Calgary and you they're still trying, like there was talks that they were trying to get Duclair and reignite what him and Huberdeau had in Florida. Obviously, that didn't happen. But if you're looking for a guy that can be a good piece to work with Huberdeau, where Huberdeau can he doesn't have to be the shooter and score goals. He can just dish the puck all night long like he likes to. I think Laine is a good fit. And I think you've got guys that can fill a role that maybe not in terms of leadership and off ice stuff that Blake Coleman does, but on ice, they've got guys that can fill that role. So I'm to think about if you're Calgary,
I think there's too many bad vibes that have been through Calgary in the past several years that I don't think you want to take a chance on a guy who has been very rocky lately and
which
has a history
of
being rocky. And as well, he's already asked out from a team in Canada. And like I don't recall it being because it was Canada or anything, but that's just unfortunately something that Calgary has to consider with every player they sign now.
Mm-hmm.
And between that and I don't even know how aggressively they're looking to perform well this year. Like it feels like they've genuinely gone into the rebuild mode after toying with the idea for so many years.
We say rebuild. Calgary's still talking retool. They think they're doing a retool thing, but I think they all rebuild.
They are in a rebuild. You don't listen to any of them. Their owner says that we are not doing a rebuild, and he says nobody say we're in a rebuild. So all the guys, they put a rebuild in place, and they go, we're just retooling. We'll be back. The GM 100% knows it's a rebuild, but he's going to the owner and going, "Yep, don't worry about it, Chief. We're A-okay." Yeah. But I think the owners just being weird about it.
Exactly. But all that now, your last bold prediction. What do you got here?
This is yet another one that I actually lowered the number on partway through here.
Okay.
Probably gonna miss on this one as well, but you know what? I've been missing a lot in the past few years on predictions. I have Alexander Ovechkin missing the 20 goal mark this season.
Ooh.
He scored 31 goals last season.
You don't think he tucks 20?
I kind of wanted to have it up at that 25 mark because they added some pieces in Washington in the offseason, but I went back down to 20.
Wow.
It's so hard to picture Ovechkin with a 19 goal season or something, but you can't just score goals forever. And I mean, he may very well for another 5 years, but he's been bad. He's been bad in that at least this past single year.
The thing is we're saying, oh, Ovi was bad. Yet in 79 games on a fucking bad Washington team. Like, I get, oh, they made the playoffs. They were still a bad team. They did not deserve to be in the playoffs. 79 games. He still put up 31 goals.
Yeah.
Of which I think he had like 2 goals in 20 games or something at one point. Like, it was something ridiculous. And 34 assists, 65
he had like 7
points.
in 50 games or something like that. Like until the trade deadline, like he was not doing much.
That's the thing. We say, oh, Ovi had a bad year. We're not even saying a down year, like just a bad year. It was still 31 points, 65 games in 79 games. Like, and
also
again,
talking about all around game. I'm not just talking about his production. Obviously,
he's never been an elite defensive player.
Like, absolutely not.
His whole career.
No, but it went from bad to worse. There was multiple games, and I don't go out and just watch Capitals games. These are basically all Tampa Bay games or other games of other teams I caught playing them. But man, there was multiple times in the games I saw of them this year where he's just standing there, somebody gets the puck, and he just goes, fuck it. Yeah, they can go. I'm not catching up, not even close. And he just gets off to the bench or just stands in the neutral zone, like. And granted, that has nothing to do with him putting up 20 goals. I guess that's general player regression. That's not for the hot take, but he's one of the greatest goal scorers of all time. But he is no longer a top 10, top 20 player in the league.
No, and I think that's fair, but at the same time, it's also like, again, when you're talking about, pure goal scorers, he's still a top 10 guy in the league. And again, I don't think I have him at top 10 last year. Nah, I think if you're picking a guy and you're like,
he has to be in the top 20,
score, but I think he's a top 20 player, probably not, but top 10 just pure goal scorer in the league right now, I would still have him in there.
I don't think so. Maybe top 10 power play guy, top 10 power play scorer, I'll absolutely hear it. But
again, he put up 31 goals on a shit Washington team. And they've again, I think they're still gonna miss the playoffs, but I think they improved their team at least, though. I think they improved from
if I had 10
where they were.
10 chances, 10 players to pick, and each situation was just one game, one regular season game. You need this guy to score as many as you can. Ovechkin's definitely not in my top 10.
Okay, but if that's such a tough comparison because you're also thinking like you're picking Matthews, but it's also like you've just the last few years you've been watching Matthews get the puck dished to him by Marner and Nylander. You're thinking Pasternak. He's had all these great like.
Matthews has a good chance. Matthews has a good chance to score on the fourth line. Like he can do it all.
It's circumstantial based on who guys are playing with, though. Like Ovi's doing this with fucking bums compared to what these other top goal scorers are doing. And again, I think he's still. I see he's still going to be kind of playing with bums, but I think he's at least got a bit more talent around him to where you can maybe find a guy
but also at the same time
can help.
Every one of those bums, all 4 of them at all times on the ice, when they have the puck, they know where he is because half of their contract value is to pass the puck to Ovechkin right now.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's totally fair, but I don't 30. I think Ovi could still put up 30, but I still think he and that's again, it's the beauty of why they're bold predictions, hot take. I think he still puts up more than
it could literally go
20,
anywhere.
But
it could literally this is the one take we've put out that has the most variance, I think. I would not be shocked if he put up 12 goals next year. I would not be shocked if he put up 45 goals next year. Like from the trade deadline on, he was after last year's trade deadline, he was like it was like 21 goals in 23 games. He was lights out. Before that, he had like 7 in like 55. Like he was on pace for like 14 goals over the season.
Mhm.
Like he was on pace for it for over half a year, and then all of a sudden he was nuts. So like it literally depends which version of him we get. We'll probably get both for certain stretches of the year. But yeah, it was just crazy to see how much he was really missing that goal scoring for so long, and still
Yeah.
somehow pulled 31 goals out of his ass over the entire season. Like it was actually crazy.
Yeah. And again, that's
And,
why I
and
love
that's how it
them,
goes. Goal
these
scorers
being
find a way to
hot
put it in.
takes. Yeah, like bold predictions. I mean, I love it. I'm definitely on the side that I think Ovi definitely clears 20. But again, that's the
Yeah.
beauty of it now. Now we've got it. We can then,
Probably should have kept
you
it
know,
25, but he only had
long
30. He had 31 last year, so I figured maybe let's lower it a bit. Because saying that a guy who's 38 years old will have a 6 goal or more drop off doesn't seem like that too much of a hot take. So
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
wanted to
no.
lower it a
Yeah.
little bit more.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm very curious now when we, obviously long time away because we got to wait, you know 11 months, 10 months or whatever till we, can kind of come back and look at these and be like, hey, do we get any right even or do we get them all wrong? Um, but that's the beauty of it. But I believe that wraps up everything that we got here.
I am just googling something real quick because I am curious. I
All
want
right.
to see if it compares with what you said.
I will be on
It does. It does.
standby.
It does. It does very well in your favor. I googled. Uh, of course, StatMuse came up because StatMuse is just fantastic for finding these stats. I just put in most NHL goals last 5 years, and in fifth is Alexander Ovechkin over the past 5 years. Matthews has
Yeah.
257. Draisaitl, Pasternak, McDavid, Ovechkin at 195. Rantanen, McKinnon, Kyle Connor, Braden Point at 173. So he's still about 30 goals from being outside the top 10 over the past 5 years. Obviously, he's regressing now more than he scored back then, but I mean, that's still a sample size enough that like he's still burying them at a crazy rate. So
Yeah.
I just going off of that, I got to imagine more people are going to agree with your assessment of him being a top 10 goal scorer currently.
Yeah, I still got him up there. But again, you know what? When players get older, you never know. Like we could see a completely different Ovi next year. Like you never quite
Yeah, it can really come out
know.
of nowhere. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, so that kind of wraps up everything for this episode here. Thank you everybody that's been tuning in, listening, watching, whatever you guys have been doing. Again, you can find us on any of our socials, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, SCU Hockey. You can come throw us a follow there. Come join in on the chats. Yeah.
Yeah, if you want, you can comment on the Twitter thread on what
Fuck off,
what we
man.
should do
No, we're
for
not.
Brundi's
Fuck
punishment.
no. We never
for
even
missing
agreed
out
to
on
a
the
fucking
prediction.
punishment. We never even agreed to a punishment. You're just pulling this shit out now, being like, "Oh, hey, fucking Dick Slap got it wrong." Like we.
Oh, but maybe we should have.
All right, I'll make you a deal here.
Oh no.
I'll make you a deal then, because you spontaneously brought this punishment out of nowhere. You just
It's true.
randomly
It was very
spun this on me one day.
I just randomly had the idea and was like, fuck it, made a tweet.
3 people. If 3 people within what was this goes up Friday morning, so by Saturday evening. Saturday evening, I will check the Twitter, and if 3 people have hopped in and are following the Twitter and put a punishment on there for me to do, I will let you pick one of them. And if there's more than 3 people, you can pick any of them. But if there's a minimum of 3 people, so within 36 to 40 hours by the time this episode comes out, if 3 people follow the Twitter, put a punishment on there, I will let you single-handedly pick one there. That will be And then I will do it.
Okay.
And then I will do it.
I think that sounds
Even though you,
more than fair.
because you just, it's just like Undertaker spawning, and it's just like, oh, punishment. I'm like, what did I fucking do?
The lights go out and the punishment
wrong than
spawns
you.
behind you.
Yeah, I only got one less wrong than you, and now I'm getting, and I know someone's gonna be like, oh, he's got to drag his balls across a cheese grater.
I was gonna say,
it's gonna be some fucked up shit. I
was gonna say we're not gonna pick some, like, we want it to be something that's punishment. It's not slap yourself in the face lightly, but at the same time, I'm not gonna make you do something crazy or stupid. If everything on there is unhinged and you do want to do something, we'll come up with something fair and not.
But as long as there is 3, on there, you can pick one of them. But if they're all just abs outlandish, then I'll let you just come up with one.
Yeah,
on your own. But there's the baseline for me doing a punishment for getting one less wrong than you, or one more wrong than you. I guess I should say one less right.
Yeah, the same way that Edmonton had one less win than Florida in the playoffs.
Oh, that they did.
Yeah, that one was pretty important. It was pretty important.
It was pretty fucking important. Just like that one that Matthews didn't get for a goal to reach 70.
So
once again,
you heard him, everybody.
Yeah,
SCU Hockey on Twitter. Go let them know. We'll maybe for the next few days we'll pin it on our account, and
I'll pin it there at the top right now.
Yeah,
I'll throw it up there, and then if anyone finds the Twitter, throw a follow. It's literally right there for you to do.
Yeah. I'm not above ordering like Hot Ones hot sauce or something. We can do something funny there.
Man.
I'm not saying. I'm just saying.
Don't get me wrong. I like my hot sauces, but I'm a fucking bitch when it comes to those super hot ones. Not a bitch. Like, I'm not sitting there like, give me milk, but like, I hate it. I hate that shit. Like the really hot ones.
Yeah. Oh, they can get pretty nasty.
Thanks for throwing that out into existence, dick.
Oh, you're welcome, Chief.
But once again, we do want to thank everybody for tuning in. Yeah, do I just say goodbye? I tried to come up with a clever ending, but didn't have an ending. So goodbye.